Hooty hoo, all my stock market gamblers. Welcome today. I'm Tall Mike. I'm so glad you're here. Well, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. We got the Thanksgiving weekend going. We got Black Friday going today. A lot of you probably just got back from shopping. Hopefully you're having a lot of fun. All right, so what's going on, right? We got a short day today. The market closes early, so nothing really big. But next week's going to be exciting. Right now, a lot of people think that we're going to get this Santa Claus rally into the end of the year, and that's a possibility. I'm not saying that we're not. I'm just saying use some caution here. Look, we've had a great year in the stock market. What's S&P up about 25%, right? And the last month here, we still have to go. Maybe you get another percent or two going higher. We'll see how that plays out. Maybe they hold the crash off until January. Now, I think the Nasdaq's in a lot of trouble. Maybe it pushes up to a new high here, but we're getting really close to the top. And once it hits that top, it's going to be a roller coaster to the downside. Once again, that's just my take. I know a lot of moon boys think we're going to double from here, and that's possible. And here's Tall Mike over the Thanksgiving weekend. And I mean, I'm going to have to talk to you about some reality because that's what we do on the show. You see, I have a very warped mind. This is what I think about. This stuff doesn't go away just because it's a holiday weekend. What we have is we have an empire, the United States, right? An empire that's crumbling. It's breaking. Now, I know there's a lot of hope right now. We got the Donald in there and he's going to fix everything. Now, does anyone else find this ironic except me? I mean, look, we're starting this new government agency, right? The Doge Department of Government Efficiency, right? So we're starting a government agency to get rid of government agencies. Okay, that's kind of funny to me, but maybe it works. I do applaud the idea of cutting back in government. I believe in a small government. Government has gotten way too out of hand, too big, right? So if they can trim 50%, I'd like to trim 80%. But I don't think that's a reality at this point. But I applaud the effort and I hope it comes through. But we're in an empire here that's falling. Now you can tell, I mean, the number that's out there is 36 trillion, right? We went 36 trillion in debt and we're now headed to 37 trillion. Now these numbers are really comical. Before the Donald gets out of office, we'll be well north of 50 trillion, right? And 36 trillion is really comical right now because that doesn't reflect hardly anything, right? I mean, we got another 120 trillion in unfunded Medicare, Medicaid. We got another 77 trillion unfunded Social Security. We got an empire that's breaking, right? We have over 200 trillion in unfunded liabilities with 36 trillion in debt and with 8 or 9 trillion on the Fed's balance sheet. All has to somehow get paid for. Now, how are they going to pay for that? They're going to pay for it with the printing of money. We all know this, right? They print the money, they print the money, they print the money, and they're going to have to lower those rates back down, right? And so this is what's interesting to me, right? Okay, this is what's interesting. They cut the rates 50 basis points, then 25 basis points, and they're going to cut 25 again in December. So they'll cut at 100 basis points, but the long end went up 100 basis points. Cut 100, goes up 100. Now, this is a big problem for the Federal Reserve. Why? What's it going to do? Well, let's just say the 10-year starts to go above 5%, right? Okay, you get that 10-year above 5%. Now, I think it's going to go well north of 10% once we start the hyperinflation. And I think we're already starting to go that direction, right? Starting to go into the hyperinflation direction. I don't mean to be negative over the weekend here, but you got to look at reality, right? The rest of the world, I mean, they're starting to realize that the dollar's in trouble. They're starting to get out of the dollar, right? I mean, central banks are buying gold. You notice they're not really buying Bitcoin, buying gold. I'd get some gold. Gold's very cheap here, right? Okay, so they're buying something to get out of the dollar. Now, a lot of people, they're trying to get out of the dollar. And if you want to buy Bitcoin at the 100,000, go right ahead. I'm not here to stop you. Maybe it goes to, a million, 10 million. I don't know. But it's a way to get out of the dollar. And that's why people are flocking into it. Get out of the dollar, make an extra dollar, right? Okay, but you see, things that are priced in dollars are going to be in a lot of trouble. people. Yes, the stock market, right, went up 25% this year, but your purchasing power is really all that's going down, right? I mean, okay, you want people to feel rich, and there's two economies right now. Two economies, really. If you're wealthy and you have a lot of those stocks and you went up 25%, you have money to pay for your bills, right? But let's say you're a working class gentleman where you go out and you work, you trade your time for money. Well, you don't really have money to pay for the bills, right? I know people who have jobs, who are working, who are homeless because they live paycheck to paycheck, and this inflation's killing them. Helping the rich people. If you're wealthy, a lot of money in the stock market, a lot of money in gold, even a lot of money in Bitcoin, right? Those prices are headed up higher, right? Okay, so you got the extra money. It's two economies, right? The food lines are now like several hours to get a bag of groceries for the poor people, but there's food lines for the billionaires to get into the top restaurants, right? Okay, so the restaurants, the top end ones still doing well because the wealthy still have money, right? The poor, they're waiting in those food lines 4 hours at a time. Okay, so here's what we got to talk about. We got to talk about what happens when the short end, they're cutting that, and the long end goes up, right? Okay, what does the long end affect? Who gets affected the most? Well, real estate market, right? Real estate market's frozen up, right? That's at 7% mortgages. What's it going to do when we get to 10, 12% mortgages, right? Well, it's not going to be frozen anymore. People are going to be dumping their houses onto the market, and it's going to be like a teeter-totter, right? The mortgages go up and the house prices go down. It's going to be a teeter-totter. But Mike, they've lowered those prices. They should be going up. When they lower the short end, the houses should be going up because there's going to be inflation. That's going to make my house go higher. And that's great if you believe that. Just stay put. Don't do anything, right? But real estate, a debt asset's bought with the mortgages. And as those mortgages head higher, 10, 12%, more and more people are going to default because they can't refinance, right? They can't pull money out of their property, and their bills are going up. Their utility bills, their property taxes, their homeowners, they're all going up. They need money. They have nowhere to get the money. The house goes onto the marketplace. They become a distressed seller. The inventory goes onto the marketplace. So who else gets hurt? Who else gets hurt when they got the rates on the short end going down and the rates on the long end going up? Who else gets hurt? The banking system. Banking system's getting destroyed right now. People don't realize this. There's about $600 billion right now on the books in unrealized losses. What's an unrealized loss? It's a loss that's already occurred, right? Okay, for example, commercial real estate down about 50%. They have these loans sitting on the book that are down about 50%, but they have them at 100% on the books because they haven't written them off yet. They haven't sold them yet, right? But if they had to get the money, let's say there's a run on the banks and they need that money, they would have to sell them 50 cents on the dollar, probably closer to 30 cents on it, the same way as with bonds. This is what hurt Silicon Valley Bank, right? The first big bank that went down, right? Is a big failure because the bonds went down, right? As the interest rates went up, they were buying the bonds at 0 and they went up to 5.5. Well, what happened to the value of their bonds? They lost like 40, 50%, right? So once the people came in and wanted the money, there was a run on the bank, right? And they didn't have your money. Your money's gone. It went to the casino. They already lost it. So what they have to do? Well, the bank got seized by the FDIC. Now, what did the FDIC do there? They made everybody whole. Even if you weren't insured, they made you whole. You're only insured up to $250, right? So they made everybody whole because all these billionaires in Silicon Valley, that's where they held their money, right? And they couldn't hurt these billionaires. But now when the bank in Oklahoma went down just recently, right? This year went down in Oklahoma, those rich people, they didn't get paid back. They have to wait, right? They have to wait to see if they can sell off the assets to get their money, right? Over 250,000 just got 50% of their money. And this is not being reported in the media because they don't want you to know that your money's not safe, right? Look, that's the first sign of the bail-in. We had another little bail-in where it was a savings and loan down in Florida, right? The bail-ins have started, right? Because the FDIC doesn't have enough money to cover all the banks. So they're just giving you part of your money back as they start to go down. Now, people think the banking crisis crisis is over. And I'll tell you, there's nothing farther from the truth that the banking crisis is over. We're just getting started, my friend. You're going to start seeing them going down week after week after week. I think by 2025, which is a month away, right, that's going to be a big year for bank failures. I think over 100 banks will go down in 2025, possibly the whole system. But Mike, we got the Donald in there. Don't jinx this for us. Look, I'm just the messenger, right? I don't want to see the system go down. I don't want to see your house go down. I want to see your house double from here so I can sell it and go make more money, right? I mean, that's what I do, but I don't want to see it go down, but it's going to go down. And a lot of people are going to get hurt. A lot of people are going to lose everything, going to lose their houses, going to lose their cars, going to lose all their assets, right? I mean, the stock market goes down, Bitcoin plummets. There's a lot of problems out there, right? And then when the system goes down, it's not going to be pretty. People are going to get hurt. Yes, they made billions on the way up, right? But on the way down, so many people are going to get hurt. So many people are going to be the bag holders. And I just, I know it's Thanksgiving weekend and we shouldn't be talking about this stuff, but we got to talk about, okay, so you got unrealized losses in the banking system, about 600 billion right now. You get the 10-year over 5%, and that number is going to go well north of $1 trillion, right? $1 trillion is a lot of money. I mean, 600 billion is already seven times greater than the 2008 crisis, right? 7 times bigger, because the bubbles, they're all bigger, right? The real estate bubble's bigger, everything's bigger, stock market bubble's bigger. All the bubbles have inflated, right? How'd they do that? They did that by printing an extra $30 trillion. But Mike, they're going to print 30 trillion more, aren't they? Well, of course they are. Probably going to print 100 trillion more, maybe 200 trillion. What's going to happen to your purchasing power? It's going to zero. Fiat currency is going to zero. It's going to disappear. Yes, there's going to be a reset. They don't like when I talk about this on YouTube, about the reset, because they don't believe it, right? The reset's coming. There's going to be a reset. They're going to try to force you into that central bank digital currency, right? Now, hopefully that doesn't come into play, but how do you know you're not using one right now? Maybe you are. Maybe you're not, right? Maybe your credit card's a central bank digital currency. It will be transparent, right? They just want to get the cash out of the system, get the fiat out of the system so there's no cash, so that they'll be able to lower interest rates to negative numbers, negative 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. Meaning if you have money in the bank and you don't spend it, they're just going to take it from you. That's what they want to do. That's the end game for them, right? That's how we're going to get out of this debt problem, right? We're going to make those numbers negative. We're going to bail into the banking system. We're going to get stuff paid off, right? We're going to inflate our way out of here with hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is going to take off, and they're going to have to do something. And when people get hyperinflation, believe me, they will be begging the government for a solution. The government is not the solution. The government is the one that caused this problem, right? If you want the solution, you get back to sound money, you get back to gold, you get back to silver. But no, that's not where the government wants you, because they're out of the system, right? They'd rather have you in Bitcoin. In Bitcoin, at least you're in the system, right? I mean, they can see each transaction on the internet. Matter of fact, they seized 200,000 Bitcoins already. Maybe they'll seize yours. I don't know, right? But maybe it keeps going up. A lot of people think it will. No, that's fine. I have no problem with that. I'm taking my chances on real money, gold and silver. I know what it is. I know it's out of the system. I know they don't control me at that point, right? Now, a lot of people say they're going to confiscate it. Confiscate what? I mean, how are they going to do that, right? 1 out of 200 people own more than 1 ounce of gold, right? 1 out of 200. They're going to go knock on 200 doors? I don't think so. We'll see how it plays out, but I think you're going to be just fine. If that worries you, get some silver. Silver's never been confiscated, right? How would they do that even? It's in every item in the United States makes, right? It's in solar panels, in electric vehicles, in every electronics product you have. Hold up your phone. It's got gold and silver in there. You know that? Without gold and silver, there is no Bitcoin. It's kind of funny how that works. But anyway, so these banks are in a lot of trouble, right? 7 times greater on the unrealized losses already, but I think that 10-year going to get up above 5%. People think I'm crazy, right? I think the short end's going to come down. But you see, here's what happens when they could lower it to zero, right? But that long end's going to spike. Why is the long end spiking? Because they they can smell that. They can smell it. Can you smell that? That's called inflation. Inflation's not dead. They're claiming victory over inflation. Believe me, there is no victory won here in over inflation. We're going to see hyperinflation. That's just the direction we're going, right? But a lot of banks are going to fold, right? Now, here's what's going to happen, right? So the short end, they're lowering, long end spiking. And when the banks start to fail, what's got to happen? They got to get that long end down. Well, there's no buyer. You want to loan the government 30-year money at 5%? Even no, I don't want 5. They'd have to get that number up to about 25, 30% before I'm even starting to be interested in that number, right? Because I know what's going on. I can see it. A lot of people can't see it. You ever notice that? Sometimes you look at something and you see it, but your friend, he look at the same thing. He don't see it, and that's fine. You know, I'm just trying to open up a few eyes here across the world, actually, right? To see what's really going on. But the Federal Reserve is going to have to be the buyer, right? They're going to be the buyer of last resort. They're going to have to get that long end down as fast as they can. So right now, the Fed has some, I don't know, 8 trillion, 9 trillion on their balance sheet. They got to balloon that. They're going to have to buy at least 10, 20 trillion dollars of this long end to get that mortgage rate down for you, to get these things down so that the prices don't just implode. So there's going to be an explosion in the Fed's balance sheet. There's going to be explosion in the debt. The unfunded liabilities has already exploded to $200 trillion. I mean, if you can't see this, a lot of people can't see it. I see what's coming. I'm praying it don't get here too soon. I've got a good life. I'd like to see him push it off another 5 or 10 years. I just know that's not going to happen, but hopefully it can. Anyways, didn't mean to ruin anyone's Thanksgiving weekend. Give me the thumbs up if you like this stuff. Get out there, everybody. Punch that subscribe button. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye-bye now.